I want to explore two questions in this video, and Johan Pielstedt, the former CEO, can give you the first one.
What made Helldivers 2 a smash hit?
The second one is, why are the devs, Arrowhead, so eager to put their success in the wheelie bin and roll it down to the wayside, ignoring what they've built and saying, it's fine, guys, we have our slogan, a game for everyone is a game for no one, which is an ironic statement considering the game was for so many people. And it wasn't that they had to go against their ideas. It's just that the game didn't even capitalize on them in the first place, and instead accidentally made a horde shooter, because you have 4 folks shooting thousands of enemies, so if that's not a horde shooter, I don't know what is, with so much nuance and things to learn given all the systems the game has to offer. You've also got enemies with amazing weak spots in many cases. That creates urgent gameplay that is fun, it's adaptable, there's creativity that you can use to kill enemies with different weapons, as we've seen in so many instances. And then you also have the amazing art direction. The missions themselves are not crazy, oddly enough. Like, that's not a major draw because they're very easy, they're very simplistic, and that further emphasizes just how important the gameplay being fun is in reference to killing enemies. And yet, as time goes on, the devs have been ignoring that a lot. How many weapons in the game feel lackluster? I'm not asking glazed divers, because to y'all, every weapon's amazing and it gets old. But how many weapons are genuinely not that good? And it could easily be better if there's any thought put into it. But instead, the devs are actually making weapons worse to shoot and aim. For what gain exactly? They're just going to constantly give sidearms worse aim because it makes sense to them. They like it. Why do they choose to like the things that take away from the fun of the game, that ruin the experience, or they work towards ruining the experience, rather? That doesn't make any sense at all. When the game launched, people were not saying, Helldivers 2 is so much fun because my weapons feel like trash to shoot. Luck was a major factor in the game's success, or its massive success as well, because you had bugs that existed that were not intended. One of the more important ones that folks don't talk about too much is the fact we took so much less damage back then. Hunters would hit you for maybe 1/10 of your HP. What does that do exactly? It makes it so you're not dying on cooldown. If they hit correctly, as they do now, I guarantee you a lot of folks would have bought the game, played against bugs, and returned the game the moment they started playing against more hunters, because no one likes dying that much in a game. It's a good thing we're expendable. That definitely adds to the experience. But you don't want to feel useless. You don't want to feel like a grunt. But wait, it's a grunt fantasy. It's not. It never has been. And oddly enough, every time the devs push towards their grunt fantasy kink, the game player numbers plummet to the freaking ground every single time, and it's to the point that they feel as though they have to course correct. Whoa, we messed up, guys. Let's go ahead and undo all the garbage we put in the game. Except they don't undo it all. Not even close. They still keep the nonsense they push towards because they like it, so who cares, right? Who cares about the players that made the game so successful by playing it in the first place, giving them their money, their time? They don't matter. After all, it's all about, I don't even know, I'm not even sure where to go with that, because it's just such a ridiculous idea in the first place. This is where live service games take a turn for the worst, because you have these egomaniacs that run the show that just shouldn't be having that much power. They sometimes have good ideas, maybe a lot of times, but the fact that their ideas are leading towards a worse future for the game that we're realizing, we are living in it. At what point are they being told, hey bro, maybe figure it out just a little bit? Because what I'm noticing is the devs play the game, but they don't understand it. Because how else would you make new enemies, flesh mobs, war striders, dragon roaches, rupture strain, that don't have good weak point design? But what about rupture strain? Use explosive weapons, encouraging metas, the very thing the devs were against when the game launched. We had to nerf railgun, shield breaker, shield backpack, and breaker because they were encouraging metas and folks were getting kicked, guys. That didn't really happen much. That was the boy who cried wolf. It was also an excuse for them to nerf the things and say, we're doing it for our players because we care. You just like to nerf stuff, dog. That's your favorite thing in the world, is making stuff worse. Why make the bottom of the barrel better when you can look at what people are using and having fun with and nerf that? And the funny thing is, even they knew the weapons they nerfed, aside from railgun, which was bugged, weren't actually that crazy. They were just perceived as being good. And they still nerfed it because it was popular. It's crazy how we had people defending the idea of new enemies not having good weak spots as if it isn't a paramount part of the game in the first place. When new enemies get launched, what do you always see? People talking about the weak spots. It is a common discourse because it's interesting. How do we kill these enemies? What's good against them? What can I use my loadout to handle the new foes of democracy? What they thought in their ultimate wisdom, we'll go ahead and make it absurdly boring to kill all these new enemies. Flesh mobs, use explosive weapons, further encouraging explosive meta. Ain't that something? But just be okay with it, guys. Adapt to the very boring, not new meta that's been existing for a long time now. That's their core audience talking, by the way. I gotta like tune them out. It's very difficult. I read too many comments. War Striders, use anti-tank weapons that require next to no skill to kill. That's not emergent gameplay. It's not fun. It is not fun to have less ability to kill an enemy that isn't even that big. And mind you, I can kill a Factory Strider with weaker weapons. With a medium pin weapon, I can kill a Factory Strider. And that's cool. It's not efficient. It's not the best. It's just nice you have the option, because that's what the game is turning into being about, is having all of these weapons that they keep pumping out, but the ability to use them in different ways, and sometimes the same way, because who cares? Instead of making that the goal and having weapons be fun to use in the game to kill the hordes of enemies where you're expendable, and there are these funny, wacky moments of dying and all that good stuff, they're saying to themselves, why not make it so players are becoming more reliant on auto-aim weapons, there's sentries that aim for them, and stratagems that require no skill to toss in, as if it hasn't been what folks are using in the first place. What I'm trying to say is they have this weird goal of making it so the weapons you shoot yourself, that you aim, there's player agency involved in you hitting shots, just feel worse to shoot. A lot of new guns have disgusting ergonomics. They're so low that it just feels like a freaking bust to aim. Just use peak physique armor. Don't talk to me. Do not talk to me and recommend such a soulless, boring, devoid of imagination, creatively bankrupt idea of using these armors that are made to solve a problem. Actually, first of all, they make a problem and then sell you the armor to solve it. Why did we lose half the magazines for so many ARs way back when, but then all of a sudden, siege-ready armor dropped and it only gives you back, an extra 3 magazines or something like that? The devs have also mastered the art of monkey paw balancing. Give you what you ask for, but attach the things you don't want that in many cases can either neutralize the benefit or make it a net negative. Examples being the recent durable damage buffs to light pin weapons. Awesome, our guns are more powerful, except they also buff the durable HP of many enemies in the patch notes, but for some of them, they weren't listed. Hive Guards had their durable HP increased by around 20 or 30%, which is a big deal because now light pin weapons aren't good at killing them in the first place, and medium pin weapons just take longer to kill them. It's a net negative. They've also buffed the durable HP for all the Devastator variants. It's not a new phenomenon. It's not a new thing they've just started doing. They accidentally forgot to tell you. It happened a long time ago. And in fact, I never saw these patch notes until today, or these undocumented changes until today. They made it so Chargers and Charger Behemoths could have their leg armor stripped using heavy pin weapons, which is great, except they didn't tell you they increased the durable HP of the exposed leg from 30% to 70% and raised the armor level from 0 unarmored to 2. And have also increased the HP of these enemies to 2400 for base Charger and 3000 for Charger Behemoth. Really strange how those very important changes were not documented in the patch notes, but all the buffs for the most part were. It's weird how this just keeps happening. It's their constant quest to make the game more challenging in the most arbitrary ways possible and being deceitful towards the player. And it's getting extremely old for me. I want the game to be fun. That's all I'm looking for. And fun does not mean everything dies in a single Liberator bullet to me. That's not how it works. You can make it so enemies die in a decent fashion and then increase how many enemies get spawned. Another factor in why the game was so successful was you just had this crazy visual of 7 Bile Titans, 4 to 7 Bile Titans in a single bug breach, 10 Chargers just running after you, galloping in the wild. That was freaking wicked. But we can't have that because at the time, our guns weren't good at killing them. And when you're pigeonholed into using the same old ways to kill enemies, that's where a problem starts to arise. And what makes it even worse is now we have a lack of diversity in the higher difficulties for facing enemies. Before, you could get hunter seeds consistently if you wanted to on certain mission types. So you're still being forced to play against, let's say, raise the flag or purge egg hatcheries, but you get a bunch of hunter seeds. Nowadays, you almost never get that, and instead, you're just facing hordes of alpha commanders. Because for some reason, it makes sense that alpha commanders, commander in the name, they're going to be spawning as 4 in a single patrol. You're going to be seeing those in almost every patrol on the cave missions. And by the way, going back to that, it's wild how they release these new enemies that don't have much creativity behind them in the sense of how players are supposed to play against them. And every time, people start to they start to not enjoy the new content. Illuminate, newest faction, getting new enemies, meat bobs, flesh mobs, stingrays, leviathans. Why is it that people are just avoiding Illuminate after a while? They're not very fun. The fun's not the focus. Hive World's job with new Oshuan, freaking Hive, the Hive planets, Dragon Roaches, Rupture Strain, all the new content. Newest Warbond is Dune in a sense. Yet people start to avoid that planet because it's not very fun. War Striders. Folks just don't like playing against them because they ragdoll you into oblivion. Now, they fixed it. They fixed some of these issues, but it took them months. And it only happened because the reviews weren't looking good and people were complaining. It should not take months to recognize these very basic issues in the game. And mind you, we're playing it after the fact. They're curating this content and they work on it for a little bit, I'd assume, and they can't see the issues? Really? You couldn't see a problem with Rupture Strain that could go dig on the ground and you could hit them before they hit you. They're headless and they still connect and hit you for half HP. That does a lot of hits, that sentence. Jeez Louise. There's no like, oh man, that's kind of annoying. You have to use explosive weapons to reveal them from the ground. That's not a problem. You're not encouraging a very boring meta, the very thing you've been against since the game's inception, basically. Or is it all just an act? Are you just saying these things while you're just pushing this garbage to try and dwindle the numbers for what reason exactly? No one quite knows. Maybe you want to make the game more difficult. It's got to be more challenging. We're not gonna change our design choices now. We're gonna stick to our guns. What? It's worth noting we have less enemies spawning from elites, heavies, and chaff, and the purpose of that was for it to run better and smoother, just greater performance. Yet that isn't what we've gotten. The game now runs the worst it's ever run, and people are still hardlocking, by the way. They're working on it, but it's not fixed. And yet the enemies aren't even smarter. There have been AI changes that I believe directly after they happened, the game performance just dwindled, fell off a cliff dang near. And the enemies were not that much smarter. They just had more goofy occurrences, climbing and scaling walls in the weirdest way. The main focus should be making enemies fun to kill. If you do that, you're addressing your core audience properly. And your core audience is the folks that actually like the horde shooter. In case it's getting confused, lost in translation, it is not the folks that tell you everything's fine. The yes men are not your friends. They're going to be the people that undermine the success of your game, but in the process, they'll make you feel good because they're telling you that you're making all the right choices. That's not the people you want to listen to. The current CEO, Shams Dorjani, said Helldivers 2 did not set out to make the game for 6 million COD players, and yet 6 million COD players are playing the game today. Meanwhile, the newest Call of Duty only had under a 100,000 player peak, which shows that folks play games because they're fun. And that statement, he said, was just beyond ignorant. People are playing this game looking for emergent, enjoyable experiences. And when you stop giving that to them, they stop playing. Even after they have so much time invested, they still can't bear it. And it's ridiculous that the devs have found a way to crush the indomitable spirit of these players. But that's what's happened. And to me, it's a bit despicable. It's ridiculous that they refuse to recognize what their game truly is and instead keep pursuing this grunt fantasy kink. Meanwhile, the game has never truly profited all that much off of the grunt fantasy. We are expendable soldiers with powerful weapons facing hordes of enemies. That is the game. That's what you should be catering towards. And if you're seeking difficulty, you can do so, but it takes more thought. You cannot just simply say, what's annoying? What do our players not like facing? Let's go ahead and crank it up. It's gotten to a point where Helldivers 2 is no longer really a game, and instead it's a social experiment the devs are conducting to see just how annoying they can make it while still maintaining some player base. Because these changes are not catered towards anybody that enjoys playing games. They're instead attacking player creativity and fun at a constant breakneck pace. These weird niche things that players pull off and do and discover just, oddly enough, get removed fairly quickly. The hunter seeds I mentioned earlier, no longer a thing. You can't find them anymore because maybe it was perceived as too easy. Killing a factory strider underneath using flame weapons, been nerfed. Sidearms. Before I was doing missions where I'd use Senator only, which I can still do with different weapons, Talon in this case, but they're just decreasing the options that seem fun. Because now we have drag that makes no sense. Because realism is, after all, when your bullets do half the damage they're supposed to at about 50 meters. Checks out, makes sense. They're not trying to make it a game worth playing, it seems. And this is honestly all sparked because my mom and dad messaged me saying, "We noticed you're not posting any videos. Is everything okay?" And truthfully, everything's pretty good outside of my job, unfortunately, which is posting content for this game. Which I don't get paid to do from Arrowhead directly, by the way. I get paid from making the videos themselves, from YouTube ads, and sometimes a sponsor here and there. But truth be told, I'm not okay in the sense that I'm sick of investing my time into games that hook me because they're just so well made. And for some reason, the devs behind them, they go on this path of destruction to tear down the success of the very thing they just created. And it happens too often. Dauntless, Remnant 2, Overwatch kind of, Overwatch 1, Apex, which they're making a comeback, but I think I'm just over it, and now Helldivers 2. These are games that I've put thousands of hours into, and it's fun because you can teach folks how to have fun as well. You can show them things they otherwise wouldn't find because they don't have the time, but I do. And that gives me more purpose when making these videos. But when every new update gives me less reason to log in, it's a bit difficult to see the purpose. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a good day. Hey guys, we have really bad ideas that people don't actually like, so we're going to go ahead and hide behind the guise of a game for everyone's a game for no one, and once we reach the 10,000 player count we're after, that's when we know we've reached peak.